People always say families break slowly, like a wall cracking one line at a time. But mine didn't break slowly. It shattered in one night, loud, violent, and permanent. It started the evening my father collapsed during dinner. I remember the sound of his chair scraping back, the way the fork slipped from his hands, the shock in my mother's eyes as she lunged toward him. I was 17, old enough to understand fear, young enough to believe everything could still be fixed. But some things don't get fixed. Some things mark you forever. My father survived, but he was never the same. And from that moment, the power dynamic in our home shifted. My older sister, Harper, stepped in like she had been waiting her entire life to take control. She dictated medicines, meals, finances, decisions, every part of our lives. My mother resisted at first, but grief does strange things. She surrendered to Harper's forceful efficiency, and the house slowly bent around her authority. I thought Harper was just helping. I thought she was carrying the burden none of us knew how to bear. But I was wrong, so painfully wrong. Years passed. I graduated, got a small job, saved money quietly, and watched from the edges as Harper became the center of everything. My mother depended on her for every decision. My father, weaker each year, rarely spoke but always flinched when Harper raised her voice. There was a cruelty under her kindness, a softness when others watched, a sharp blade when they didn't. Still, I tried to believe we were a family. Still, I tried to keep the peace. Still, I tried to stay invisible. But invisibility ended the day I told them I wanted to move out. We were sitting in the living room, my father trembling in his recliner, my mother folding laundry, Harper checking bills with her tight, controlling focus. My heart pounded as I spoke. I found an apartment near work. I'm thinking of moving. Harper didn't even blink. She raised her eyes, calm and cold, and said, "No, you're not." My mother froze. My father's hand slipped off the armrest. I tried to explain rent was affordable, the commute shorter. It was time for me to grow. But Harper slammed the paperwork on the table and stood up so fast the room jumped. "You think you can just walk away while I take care of everything? While I sacrifice everything? No, you're staying right here." Her voice echoed through the walls, angry, territorial, possessive. Not protective, possessive. My mother whispered, "Harper, calm down." But Harper shot her a glare so sharp she fell silent. That's when the truth spilled out, raw, ugly, undeniable. "You owe us." Harper screamed. "I've given up years of my life for this family. You don't get to run away while I clean up your mess." "My mess?" I whispered. "Yes, your mess. You don't work enough hours. You don't pay enough bills. You don't help with Dad. I do everything." Every word hit like a strike, as if I hadn't spent years bathing Dad, driving him to therapy, staying up when he couldn't breathe, as if I had been lazy, as if I hadn't tried. My father tried to speak, voice shaky, breath struggling. Harper." "Enough." But Harper spun toward him, eyes burning. "Don't start. You know I'm the only one holding this family together." He shrank back like a scolded child. Something inside me cracked. "I'm not staying," I said quietly. Her face changed, smoothed, hardened, like a door slamming shut behind her eyes. She stepped closer, voice cold as winter. "If you walk out that door, don't ever come back." My mother gasped. My father shook his head, tears filling his eyes. But Harper didn't look at them. She stared only at me. And for the first time, I saw her clearly, not as a sister, not as a caretaker, but as a woman addicted to control. I packed that night. I walked out, and I thought leaving would free me. I didn't know I had just declared war, because by sunrise, Harper did something I never imagined, something that turned the entire town against me. I barely slept after leaving home. My small apartment felt strange, too quiet, too empty, nothing like the house where the air was always thick with tension but somehow familiar. I curled up on the borrowed mattress and told myself I'd made the right decision. Freedom felt terrifying, but it also felt necessary. By sunrise, I convinced myself things would calm down. Harper would cool off. My mother would call. My father would ask to see me. life would find a rhythm again. I didn't expect what happened instead. My phone buzzed relentlessly, messages, alerts, notifications piling up faster than I could read. At first I thought something had happened to Dad. My hands shook as I unlocked the screen, but the first message was from my coworker. "Hey, are you okay? Everyone's talking about what your sister posted." My stomach twisted. Then another. "This isn't like you. Call me if you need help." Then another. "I can't believe you'd leave your sick father like that." My breath hitched. What? What were they talking about? I opened social media, my heart pounding, and there it was. Harper's post. A long, heartbreaking message paired with a photo of her holding Dad's trembling hand. The caption read, "Last night was the hardest night of my life. My younger sister abandoned our family when we needed her most. I've sacrificed everything to care for our father while she complains her life is too hard. Please pray for us. Dad isn't doing well." Thousands of reactions. Hundreds of comments, people offering prayers, sympathy, righteous anger against me. I felt the ground disappear beneath me. She had done it. She had crafted a perfect lie, one dripping with guilt, pity, and martyrdom. And she posted it while I was barely unpacking my bag. A notification popped up, someone had tagged me. "Shame on you. How could you? Your sister is doing everything. Your dad needs you. Stop being selfish." Selfish. Running away. Abandoning them. The exact weapons Harper wanted. My hands were shaking so violently I almost dropped my phone. I called my mother immediately. No answer. I tried again. And again. And again. Then finally, someone picked up, but it wasn't my mother. It was Harper. "You need to stop calling," she said, calm as ice. "Mom doesn't want to talk to you." "What? Put her on." "Harper, what are you doing? What did you post?" "I posted the truth," she said simply. "That's a lie. I didn't abandon anyone. You told me to leave." "You decided to leave," she corrected. "And now everyone knows it. Maybe this will finally make you accountable." Her voice didn't shake. She wasn't angry. She wasn't crying. She was composed, like someone who had planned this long in advance. My voice cracked. "Harper, please. I never wanted to hurt anyone. Let me talk to Mom. You lost that privilege when you walked out," she said coldly. Then she hung up. I stared at the phone. Breath shattered. Tears blurring my vision. The betrayal tasted metallic, bitter, choking. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was punishment. And she wanted the world to watch. I sank to the floor, sobbing, unable to breathe under the weight of her lies. I had never felt so small, so powerless. She had taken my family, my reputation, my voice, everything I still held close, and twisted it. But the worst was yet to come. That afternoon, my landlord called. "I'm so sorry, but I can't rent to someone with unstable family situations," he said awkwardly. "Your sister came by this morning. She said you might cause trouble." My blood ran cold. She had found my new address. She had shown up there before the sun even rose. She had attacked my new life before it even started. I hung up the phone with trembling fingers, heart pounding in my skull. How far was she willing to go? What else had she told people? How many bridges had she burned on my behalf? A knock echoed through my apartment. I froze. Another knock, louder. I forced myself to stand, every muscle tight. When I opened the door, a woman stood there, breathless, shaking. It was Mrs. Turner, our old neighbor. "I need to talk to you," she said urgently. "Your sister isn't telling the whole story." She glanced over her shoulder. "And you need to hear what really happened after you left, because what she told me next revealed a side of Harper even I had never seen." Mrs. Turner's face was pale, her breath fogging in the cold hallway as she stepped into my apartment. She looked around nervously, as if afraid Harper might burst in at any moment. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered, clasping her hands tightly. "Your sister, she's not who everyone thinks she is." The words hit me like a chill. She sat down slowly, gathering herself before speaking again. I saw what she posted, she said. Everyone did. But the truth? The truth is very different from that performance. Performance. The word echoed in my mind. What happened after I left? I asked, heart pounding. Mrs. Turner swallowed hard. It was chaos, she whispered. Your father tried to stand up barely and begged your sister to call you back. He kept saying your name, over and over. Your mother cried. But Harper, she screamed at them. I stared at her in disbelief. She screamed at Dad? My voice shook. She told her father, Mrs. Turner continued, that if he kept defending you, she'd stop caring for him altogether. I felt sick. Mrs. Turner's eyes glistened. And then, she blamed him. She said it was his fault you left, that he spoiled you too much, that he made you weak. My hands started trembling. My father, fragile, trembling, barely able to speak, had been yelled at after I left. He had been left with the storm Harper unleashed. I felt tears sting my eyes. Why didn't my mother stop her? I whispered. Mrs. Turner lowered her gaze. She tried, but Harper pushed her hard. I froze. Pushed her. She didn't fall, but she stumbled back. Mrs. Turner shook her head, voice breaking. I saw it. I heard the shouting through the window, and when I stepped outside to check, your mother was wiping tears and Harper was slamming the door. The walls around me seemed to tilt. My mind raced images of my mother shuddering under Harper's anger, my father terrified, sitting helpless. She hadn't just lied about me. She had terrorized them after I left. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Mrs. Turner took a trembling breath. Because people like Harper, they crave control, and they don't stop until someone stops them. I closed my eyes, a storm rising in my chest. And there's something else, she added quietly. Something you need to know. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small folded paper. I found this under your mailbox, she said. It was torn like someone tried to destroy it. But I recognized your mother's handwriting. I unfolded it with shaking hands. It was a note. Short. Rushed. Heartbreaking. Please don't believe what she says. We miss you. Come home when you can. Love, Mom. My breath caught. Mrs. Turner leaned forward quickly. Your mother tried to reach you. Harper ripped the note from her hand when she was leaving the house. She tore it up right in front of her. I saw your mother crying in the yard. The rage that flooded me was like a heat wave. Harper hadn't just manipulated social media. She had stolen my mother's voice. She had trapped my father under her control. She had made the entire world believe her lies. My jaw tightened. What else did she do? I asked. Mrs. Turner hesitated, then whispered, she told the neighbors you were unstable. My heart dropped. She said you have anger issues, that you were dangerous. She even said to watch out if you returned, because you might cause a scene. That's why people were staring this morning. I felt my stomach twist painfully. This wasn't just a smear. This was a character assassination. She's isolating you, Mrs. Turner added. The way she isolated your parents. The way she isolated their friends. She wants to be the only one in control. My eyes hardened. My hands steadied. I wasn't going to let her. What do? I asked. Mrs. Turner hesitated, then said softly, you need to go home. Not to fight. Not to argue. But to protect the people who can't protect themselves anymore. My chest tightened with fear. Going back home meant walking straight into Harper's grip, but staying away meant leaving my parents alone with her, and that I could never do. Mrs. Turner placed a gentle hand on mine. Your mother needs you, she whispered. And your father. He won't survive another outburst. Her words struck deep. I stood slowly, the decision settling into my bones. I was going home. Not as the quiet sibling, not as the invisible daughter, but as the only one left who could stand up to Harper. Mrs. Turner took a shaky breath. Just be careful. She's not stable right now. I nodded. But in my heart, I knew something darker. Harper didn't lose control. Harper thrived on it. And when I stepped back into that house, I discovered a secret she had been hiding for years, one that changed everything. I returned home just after sunset. The sky was bruised purple, the air sharp with winter cold, and every breath felt heavier as I walked up the familiar driveway. The house looked the same, but something about it felt hollow, as if warmth had been drained from its walls. I hesitated at the door. Once, this house meant comfort. Now it felt like stepping into a trap. Before I could knock, the door opened just a crack. My mother stood there, her eyes red, face pale, hands trembling slightly. "Mom," I whispered. She didn't speak. She just pulled me into a hug so tight it knocked the air from my lungs. I held her, feeling her shoulders shake, feeling years of fear and silence pressed into that one embrace. She finally whispered, "I'm so glad you came." Her voice cracked on the last word. When she pulled away, she kept glancing over her shoulder nervously, as if expecting Harper to appear out of thin air. "Where is she?" I asked. "In the car," she said quietly. "She went to pick up Dad's medication, and she's angry. She might come home any minute." Fear flickered across her face at the thought. My heart clenched. This wasn't normal fear. This was the kind born from long-term control. "Mom, what's been happening here?" I asked gently. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, footsteps sounded from down the hallway. We both froze. It wasn't Harper. It was my father leaning against the wall, looking frail, gripping the handrail like it was the only thing keeping him upright. His eyes softened when he saw me. "Oh, sweetheart," he breathed, voice thin and shaky. "You came home." I rushed to him, guiding him to his favorite chair. His hand felt cold, weak like a bird's fragile wing. He looked so much older than he had just weeks ago. "Dad, why didn't you call me?" I whispered. His eyes dropped. He didn't answer. My mother stepped closer, wringing her hands. She wouldn't let him. She said. Something inside me snapped quietly, but completely. Before I could respond, my father lifted his hand slightly, motioning toward the hallway. "There's something you should see," he whispered. "Before she gets back." He pointed toward the study, his old office. A room Harper had declared off limits ever since Dad got sick. For years, she had kept that door locked. "What's in there?" I asked. My father's lips trembled. "Proof," he whispered. "Proof of what she's been doing." My heart thundered. I stood up, crossed the hall, and pushed open the study door. The smell of old books hit me, the familiar scent of leather and paper. The room was dim, dust collecting in corners, light filtering through slightly open blinds. Closing the door behind me, I turned on the lamp, and that's when I saw it. The desk, the drawers, the papers scattered like someone had searched through them frantically, and in the center a locked wooden box. A box I had never seen before. A box with my father's name engraved in fading gold. My pulse raced. I turned to my dad. "Where's the key?" He lifted a trembling hand toward a small tin on the bookshelf. Inside the tin was a key taped under the lid. I unlocked the box with shaking fingers. It opened with a soft click. Inside was a stack of documents, medical forms, bank records, legal papers, all carefully organized by date. But one file sat on top, labeled in my father's handwriting. "If anything happens to me, read this." My breath caught. I unfolded the letter. Dad's handwriting wavered across the page, but the meaning was crystal clear. "If this reaches you, then your sister has taken full control of the household. She has been altering my medications. Not drastically, just enough to weaken me and keep me dependent on her. She says it's for my safety, but I no longer trust her." My heart slammed against my ribs. "I tried to tell your mother, but she is too frightened of Harper's anger. I'm afraid Harper may not want me to recover. She needs us to stay weak so she can stay in control." My vision blurred. "Please, protect your mother, and protect yourself. Harper is not well." I couldn't breathe. A cold wave washed over me. Harper wasn't just controlling. She wasn't just manipulative. She had been weakening him, slowly, deliberately. I sank to the chair, gripping the letter, my mind spinning. This was beyond control, beyond jealousy, beyond resentment. This was dangerous, My father's voice broke the silence. I'm scared, he whispered, and she'll be home soon. I stood abruptly, adrenaline roaring through my veins. I had come home to defend myself. Instead, I found a secret that could tear this family apart. A secret that put all of us in danger. And just as I turned to leave the study, I heard the front door open. Harper was home. The sound of the front door opening sliced through the house like a blade. A cold rush swept down my spine. My father's warning echoed in my ears as I shoved the letter back into the wooden box and slid it into the bottom drawer. My mother's soft voice drifted from the living room. Harper, you're home early. Traffic was light, Harper replied. Her tone was crisp, controlled to calm. Where is she? She meant me. My pulse kicked into overdrive. I stepped out of the study slowly, trying to look composed. But Harper was already standing in the hallway, grocery bag in one hand, keys in the other, eyes sharp, lips tight, posture rigid like she was bracing for war. There you are, she said, tilting her head. Back already? My mother hovered behind her like a ghost, worried. Silent, shrinking, my father tried to sit straighter in his chair, but he winced. Harper didn't bother looking at him. I swallowed hard. I came to talk, she repeated, eyebrows raising. After abandoning us? Her voice was icy smooth, professional, practiced, but her eyes were blazing. I didn't abandon anyone, I said quietly. You told me to leave. That's not how I remember it. She set the grocery bag on the counter with a thud. I glanced at my mother. She looked like she wanted to speak but didn't dare. My father's hands trembled in his lap. Harper noticed everything. She stepped closer. Do you know what your leaving did to them? She demanded. Dad's blood pressure spiked. Mom cried all night. And you? You were out there making me look like the villain. I didn't say anything to anyone, I replied. No, Harper smirked. Funny, because suddenly the neighbors have opinions. Mrs. Turner stopped me earlier and asked if you were doing okay. Her jaw clenched. You're poisoning them against me. My heart pounded. Harper, I didn't tell anyone. Then how do they know? She snapped. Explain that. Her voice rose, not loud, but sharp, slicing, dangerous. I took a careful breath. I think we all need to calm down. She stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Don't tell me to calm down. The room felt like it tilted. My father's voice cracked. Harper, enough. Please, my mother whispered. Let's sit. Harper spun toward her. Don't interfere. My mother flinched like the words were a physical blow, and something inside me finally snapped. Stop talking to her like that, I said, louder than I intended. Harper froze. Slowly, she turned back to me, her expression turning cold, detached, a mask sliding into place. So that's what this is, she said quietly. You're here to take sides. I'm here because this is our family, and we need to fix this. There's nothing to fix, she replied. There's only you, causing chaos. She crossed her arms. You think you can run off, make Mom cry, leave Dad helpless, and then waltz back in like a hero? She hissed. You think you're some savior? No, I said, but I won't let you bully them. Her jaw tensed. Bully? She echoed, laughing once sharp, humorless. I'm the one who takes care of everything. I'm the one who stays up when Dad can't breathe. I'm the one who handles the bills. You don't get to come in here and act like you've done more, my father whispered. Harper, please. But she ignored him. You left, she continued. And now you're back because what your guilt kicked in. Harper, I started. But then she said something that chilled me. I know you were in the study. My breath stopped. Her eyes flicked to the door behind me. It's the only room you've avoided for years. Suddenly you go straight there. Why? I swallowed. Harper, what were you looking for? She demanded. My mother whispered. Please stop. But Harper was already stepping closer, her voice low and venomous. You think I don't know you? You think I don't know how to read you? I know exactly what you're trying to do. You want to make me look unstable so you can take over. The irony almost made me laugh, almost. Harper, I said carefully, Dad showed me something. Her expression changed fast. Her eyes sharpened. Her shoulders tensed. A shadow flickered across her face. "What did he show you?" she whispered. Her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was terrified. Before I could speak, my father tried to rise from his chair. "No, Harper, don't," but Harper was already moving toward him. "Dad, don't you dare," she hissed. "Don't you dare turn them against me." "Harper," I said sharply, stepping in between them. For one terrifying second, her eyes flashed with something unhinged. Then she backed away slowly, breathing hard. "You all think I'm the problem," she said, voice trembling with rage. "Fine, fine, you'll see. You'll see what happens when I stop holding this family together." She grabbed her coat, her keys, and stormed toward the door. My mother cried out, "Harper, please don't leave." But she didn't look back. She slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. Silence fell heavy, suffocating. My father's voice broke the stillness. "She's not going to let this go," he whispered. "She's going to come back, and she's going to be worse." I believed him, because the look in Harper's eyes before she left wasn't anger, it was a warning. And the next morning, a knock at my apartment door revealed exactly how far she was prepared to go. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the fear in my father's face, the grief in my mother's, and the cold, furious look Harper gave me right before she slammed the door. My mind replayed Dad's letter on a loop. "She has been altering my medications. She needs us weak. Protect your mother. Protect yourself." By morning, the weight of the truth felt heavier than the night before. I stayed home, pacing my apartment, trying to decide my next step. Should I confront her? Should I go to the police? Should I gather more proof? Every option carried danger. I was mid-thought when someone knocked on my door. 3 sharp hits. Not friendly, not hesitant. I froze. Another set of knocks, harder this time. My stomach clenched. "Harper," slowly, carefully. I approached a peephole, but it wasn't Harper. It was a police officer. My breath caught. I opened the door a crack. "Yes." "Are you?" He confirmed my name. "Yes." "What's going on?" He cleared his throat. "We received a report this morning. Your sister claims you threatened her at your parents' home last night." I felt the blood drain from my face. No, I didn't." "She's lying." He sighed, like he had heard this too many times. "She says she left the house because she was afraid for her safety. She also submitted neighbors' statements about your emotional instability." My, what? "Neighbors reported you screaming, slamming things, being aggressive." I nearly laughed out of disbelief. "I didn't do any of that." "She's trying to frame me." He held up a hand. "Look, I'm not here to arrest you, but I need to follow protocol and check the situation." My hands shook. "She's twisting everything. Please, you have to believe me." He softened slightly. "I'm just gathering information, that's all." I swallowed hard. Harper had escalated this to the authorities. She was no longer trying to damage my reputation. Privately now, she was trying to get the law on her side. I thought the nightmare was ending, but it was just beginning. "Do you have somewhere you can stay for a few days?" he asked gently. "Why?" I whispered. "Because it seems like tension is very high between you and your sister. It might be best if you give each other space." Space? She wasn't asking for space, she was trying to trap me again. "I need to protect my parents," I said. "Let us handle that," he replied. But how could they handle what they didn't understand? After he left, I collapsed onto the couch, shaking. My entire world felt upside down. She was building a legal case against me. She was manipulating neighbors. She was controlling my parents. She was isolating me from every possible support. This was no longer jealousy. This was strategy. I knew I had to act. I grabbed my coat, my phone, and Dad's letter and headed to my parents' house. My heart pounded the entire drive. When I got there, my mother opened the door with swollen eyes. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispered. My father sat in the living room, pale, exhausted, his breathing shallow. I sat beside him. "Dad, I'm going to help you. I promise." He nodded weakly. "Be careful," he whispered. She's unpredictable. My mother lowered her voice. She left early this morning. She was furious. She threw things, broke a glass. She said she was done cleaning up everyone's mess. My father looked at me, voice shaking. She said, she might as well let everything fall apart. A chill rippled down my spine. What does that mean? I asked. They exchanged a terrified glance. My mother swallowed hard. She has access to all his medications, she murmured. Everything. And she knows exactly which ones are dangerous. My stomach turned. Mom, where did she go? I whispered. She didn't say. My mother replied, eyes brimming with fear. But she took Dad's medication log with her. I felt sick. She has something planned, Dad whispered. Something she thinks will prove how much we need her. My pulse raced. Harper wasn't just unstable anymore. She was volatile. She was cornered. And when cornered, she lashed out. I stood, gripping the letter, heart pounding like thunder. I needed to find Harper before she did something irreversible, before the damage she caused became permanent. I didn't know then that the place she went next was the last place any of us expected. My mother's trembling words echoed in my mind as I sped through the quiet, gray morning streets. She took his medication log. She said she was done cleaning up everyone's mess. She might as well let everything fall apart. Harper wasn't thinking like a caretaker anymore. She was thinking like someone who had lost control and wanted to punish everyone for it. I called her phone. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Ignored. I called a third time. Still nothing. Every passing minute felt like another fuse burning down. I drove to the pharmacy first, no sign of her, then to the small park she used to visit when she needed space, as she called it, but she wasn't there either. Then I checked her office, a family counseling center where she worked as a receptionist. Empty. Dark. Locked. She had vanished without a trace. I sat in my car at a red light, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Where would she go if she felt threatened? If she felt cornered? If she felt like the entire world was against her? I replayed her last words from the night before. You'll see what happens when I stop holding this family together. What did she mean by see? Then it hit me. Her ex-fiancé. 3 years ago, Harper had been engaged to a man named Logan. They broke up because, according to Harper, he didn't appreciate her sacrifices. But the truth? Logan had confided in my mother once. Harper monitored everything he did. His messages, his friends, even his sleep schedule. Eventually, he had to leave for his own sanity. Harper hated him for it. She never forgave him, but she always said he was the only person who understood her family burdens, and when Harper felt trapped, she always ran to someone who would validate her. I searched my phone for Logan's old address. My mother had texted it to me long ago when he returned a box of Harper's things. I headed there. Immediately, Logan lived on the edge of town, a small, pale yellow house with overgrown hedges and a cluttered porch. I wasn't even sure if he still lived there when I pulled up. A dark car was parked out front. My heart sank. It was Harper's. I jumped out of my car and ran up the walkway, knocking hard. Logan, I yelled. It's her sister. I need to talk to you. It's urgent. Silence. I knocked again, louder. Finally, the door opened a crack and Logan appeared. Eyes wide, jaw clenched, like someone bracing for a storm. She's inside, he said immediately. My stomach twisted. She showed up early this morning. He continued quietly, crying, shaking, saying your family turned against her. I need to see her, I said. Logan hesitated. She's not okay right now. Please. He opened the door wider. The living room was dim, curtains half closed, and there, sitting on the couch like a ghost, was Harper. Her hair was messy, her eyes hollow, her hands shaking as she held Dad's medication log in her lap. Her face was streaked with tears, but when she saw me, something in her expression snapped tight like a rubber band pulled too far. Oh, she whispered. You found me, Harper, I said gently, stepping slowly into the room. We need to talk. She held up the medication log between two trembling fingers. You think I don't notice things? She said. You think I don't know what's going on in that house? Her voice trembled not with fear but with rage and grief intertwined. I have done everything, she said, eyes flashing. Everything. And what do I get? Accusations. Lies. Everyone turning against me. No one's turning against you. I whispered. You're lying. She pointed at me with a shaking hand. You of all people don't get to say that. Logan stepped forward. Harper. Maybe just breathe. Don't tell me to breathe. She screamed, her voice cracking. None of you understand what I've carried all these years. She suddenly stood up, clutching the medication log to her chest. Her breathing was fast, panicked. Her eyes were wild and focused. Harper, I said softly. You're scaring everyone. I'm scared too, she shouted. I'm scared of losing everything. Losing control. Losing them. Her knees buckled, and she crashed back into the couch, sobbing violently. Logan rushed to steady her. I sat on the opposite end, keeping my distance. In between the sobs, Harper whispered words that chilled me. I didn't mean to hurt Dad. I thought, if he needed me, he wouldn't leave me. Time froze. I stared at her, heart pounding. What did you do? I whispered. Harper covered her face with her hands. Logan looked at me, horrified, and in that quiet, broken room, I understood something terrible. Harper hadn't been trying to kill anyone. She had been trying to keep them. She was so desperate to be needed. She crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Before I could respond, before any of us could say another word, Harper suddenly looked up, eyes wide with fear. She's going to call the police, she whispered, staring at me. I know you are. And then she bolted toward the door. Harper, no, I yelled. But she was already outside, running. Into the street. Into the chaos. And what happened next was the moment everything changed forever. Harper sprinted down the porch steps so fast she nearly slipped. Her hair whipped behind her, her breaths coming out sharp and uneven like a frightened animal running from a trap. I chased after her, yelling her name, but she didn't slow, didn't look back, didn't even seem to hear me. Harper, stop! I shouted, feet pounding on concrete. Logan was right behind me. The street outside his house was narrow, lined with parked cars and overgrown hedges. A delivery truck rumbled down the far end, engine loud, tires grinding over gravel. Harper darted into the road without looking. Harper, wait! I screamed. She paused in the middle of the street just 1 second. One terrible, suspended second. Long enough for her to look back at me with eyes full of terror and broken realization. She didn't finish my name. The truck driver slammed the brakes. The shriek of tires ripped through the air. Neighbors shouted. Logan cursed. But the sound that stays with me even now is the dull, heartbreaking thud. The world fell silent. Harper crumpled to the pavement, motionless, for a moment. Everything inside me stopped to my breath, my thoughts, the pounding of my heart. Then everything rushed back at once. No, 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 Harper, I screamed as I ran toward her, my voice breaking so violently it barely sounded human. Logan reached her first and dropped to his knees. Oh God, Harper, please. Please, he rasped, hands trembling as he checked her pulse. People gathered. Someone called for help. Someone else shouted instructions. It was all noise, distant, muffled, like I was underwater. I knelt beside her, brushing hair from her face. Her skin was warm, her eyelashes fluttered faintly. She was breathing but shallow, fragile, fading. Stay with me, I whispered, choking on every word. Harper, please, stay with me. Her lips parted slightly, barely forming the shape of my name. And then her eyes drifted closed again. The ambulance arrived and the EMTs rushed forward. They lifted her onto a stretcher, voices quick and clipped, working fast. She's stable but critical, let's move. I scrambled to follow, but one of them stopped me. You can't ride with us unless you're immediate family. I am immediate family, I cried. Logan put a steadying hand on my shoulder. Let them work, he said softly. My whole body shook uncontrollably. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. I wanted to confront her, to get her help, to protect my parents, not watching my sister bleed on the pavement. The road was streaked with dark skid marks. A single shoe lay near the curb. The truck driver sobbed against his vehicle, hands in his hair. The neighbors whispered behind their fences. Everything felt unreal. Logan turned me gently toward my car. "Come on, we'll follow." The drive to the hospital was a blur of tears and guilt and memories that cut deeper than I expected. Harper braiding my hair before school. Harper holding my hand when I broke my arm. Harper crying over her failed engagement. Harper spinning out of control, and me leaving, and her feeling abandoned. But none of that justified what she'd done. Nothing excused her choices. But the truth sat heavy on my chest. She hadn't been a monster. She'd been drowning. We arrived at the hospital. Nurses ushered Harper into emergency trauma. A red light flashed above the double doors. Critical condition, do not enter. Logan and I sat in the waiting room. I pressed my hands to my face, trying to steady my breath. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her lying in the street again. "You did what you could," Logan murmured. I shook my head. "I should have stopped her sooner. I should have." "You didn't hit her," he said quietly. "You didn't push her into the street. You ran after her. You tried to help. This isn't your fault." But guilt doesn't listen to reason. A doctor emerged at last, older, tired, removing his gloves with a sigh. "Family of Harper," he called. I stood so fast a chair scraped across the floor. "How is she?" I whispered. The doctor hesitated, and in that hesitation, the world collapsed again. "She's alive," he said, "but she has significant internal injuries. We're taking her into surgery now. It will be hours before we know more." My breath left me in a shaky exhale. Alive, but barely. As the doctor disappeared back through the doors, Logan gently guided me into a chair. "What do we do now?" he asked. I stared at the floor. "We wait," I whispered. "And we hope." Outside, the sun dipped behind clouds, casting the hospital lobby into a muted gray, and I knew life would never be the same again. But while Harper fought for her life in that operating room, someone else was already preparing to use the chaos to tear our family apart for good. The hours that followed were the longest of my life. Hospital lights flickered overhead in soft, buzzing halos. Voices rose and fell around me. Nurses, whispered conversations, distant overhead announcements, but nothing felt real. I kept replaying the moment Harper looked back at me in the street. That second when fear and desperation flickered across her face. Logan sat with his elbows on his knees, head bowed. "She's strong," he murmured for the fourth time. "She'll fight." I nodded numbly, though I wasn't sure if I was trying to comfort him or myself. After nearly 5 hours, a surgeon stepped into the waiting room, fatigue drawn into the lines around his eyes. "Family of Harper?" he asked. I stood instantly. He took a breath. "She made it through surgery." My knees nearly buckled with relief. But he continued gently, "She's not out of danger yet. She has a long recovery ahead physically and emotionally." I closed my eyes, whispering a trembling thank you. She lived. After everything, she lived. We were allowed to see her briefly in recovery. Harper lay pale and still, her face wrapped in soft shadows from the monitors. Tubes and wires surrounded her like a fragile web. But her chest rose and fell steady, rhythmic. Alive. Logan took her hand and pressed it to his forehead. I stood beside him, swallowing the mix of grief, relief, and 1,000 unspoken words. "I'm here," I whispered to her, "and I'm not leaving again." She didn't move, didn't respond, but maybe, somewhere deep inside, she heard the consequence be mourning. The rest of the world caught up. My phone buzzed with calls from my mother, panicked, desperate. I rushed home, where both my parents sat in the living room, shaken and exhausted. She called earlier," my mother sobbed. "Before it happened, she left a voicemail saying she was sorry, and that she didn't mean for anything to happen." My father's eyes were red-rimmed. "This family is broken," he whispered. "But maybe now, we can finally see the truth." When I told them about the accident, about Harper's condition, my mother collapsed into my arms. "We almost lost her," she cried. We almost lost everything. But that wasn't true. What we almost lost was our honesty, our ability to confront the pain that had been rotting our home for years. My father slowly opened the drawer beside him, pulling out the medication logs Harper kept. Look, he said softly, there were corrections, crossouts, numbers changed by a few milligrams. Subtle but dangerous. She didn't mean to hurt me, he said. She wanted to make herself needed. The truth hurt more than anger, more than betrayal, but it was still truth. The turning point a week later. Harper woke up, not dramatically, not with gasps or shouted confessions, just a quiet opening of her eyes as the morning sun filtered through the hospital blinds. I was there. She blinked slowly, confusion drifting across her face. When her gaze settled on mine, tears welled instantly. You came back, she whispered. I never left, I said softly. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean for any of this. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I know, I whispered. But you did. And now we're going to fix it. Together. She turned away, ashamed. I don't deserve that. Maybe not, I whispered. But you're still my sister. Those words broke something open in her, something old, something painful, something that had lived inside both of us for far too long. She cried, not angrily, not defensively, but softly, freely, like she finally felt safe enough to fall apart. The final coisa within days. Social workers and mental health professionals stepped in. Harper agreed to long-term therapy. She admitted quietly to altering Dad's medication, not out of cruelty, but fear. Fear of being replaced. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of losing the identity she had built around being the strong one. She wasn't strong. She was exhausted. And we never saw it. My father forgave her, not easily, not quickly, but honestly. My mother visited her daily, bringing soup and blankets. Logan stayed longer than anyone expected. And I began to rebuild what we had all allowed to crumble. Harper eventually moved to a supervised recovery facility, a choice she made herself. I need help, she told us. Real help. It was the bravest thing she'd ever said. Epilogue WH80. We let go months later. I stood on the front porch of my parents' house. The same house where everything began. The same house where everything broke. The sunset painted the sky in gold and rose. Harper's voice echoed in my head. I just wanted to matter. She always had. She just couldn't see it. We were learning slowly, clumsily, to build a different family. One with boundaries, honesty, space. Healing. As I turned to leave, a soft breeze rustled through the yard, carrying with it the faintest sense of closure. Not perfect, not complete, but real. The kind of closure that doesn't erase the scars, but teaches you to live with them. And for the first time in years, I believed we finally had a chance to start over, together.